just sum up now, and it may be the message you want us to look at in this room. It may be something that you think we've failed to address tonight, or I haven't asked you. If I could ask you, the question was, are we adequately preparing today's learners for life tomorrow? And I'm going to start with Paul Mazerolle.
Thanks for that. Look, I think the answer is yes, but if we think about what we can all do to facilitate that love of learning in our own social network, in our social community. So if we can all, in the future, try to build that commitment to education, to support teachers, to support for the financial and human investment in the value of education across our entire community, that would be a good place to start.
Okay, can I go to that?
I think the question is about adequately building our learners. I think we're doing it adequately, I agree, but I think we have the potential to become exceptional. And that's about building this understanding and this working together facility between the parents, the school, the students. And we have that potential ahead of us. Every single one of us tonight sits here in whatever role we sit in, having probably been inspired by a teacher at some point in their life. And we do what we do because those teachers were exceptional. And we now have the opportunity to bring that exceptionalness, bit of a word stumble there, but to bring that ability to be that exception out in our students.
Thank you. Hello,
I think the topic of tonight's debate is somewhat disappointing. It said, are we adequately? That to me implies mediocrity. Perhaps we should have looked at something a bit more aspiring than that. But yes, I think we're not doing a bad job, given all the limitations that we've discussed tonight. It comes down to a partnership between the four groups that Kevin's mentioned. I want to touch very briefly on the responsibility of the media, because I think that's something that's important as a parent. I think it will be as frustrating as it is for schools and students. One quick example, on the 11th of August, the education report of the Courier Mail will remain known as said, Queensland Government has refused to rule out the high school certificate exam to replace the present Year 12 OP test. Well, I'm not surprised, because there's no Year 12 OP test. And it's reporting like that actually confuses people, confuses parents, and apart from all the other issues of making high stakes data, perhaps we should have league tables and papers, and they should be looking at the standard of journalism.
For me, it's an issue about developing our approach to the future by learning from the past. And there's some great wisdom that I quote on a regular basis, which is it takes a village to raise a child. I think as long as we continue to focus on the fact that there's only one solution for education, and that is a school, then that's going to be a problem for us in the future. Schools have a vital role to play, teachers have a vital role to play, but we can't do the job on our own. And the longer we focus or are siloed into trying to do education solo, we're going to fail. And I think, I disagree. I actually don't think we're adequately preparing students for the future. I think there will be, for all of us, consequences for the fact that we failed to grasp the nettle around changing the way we fundamentally think about education and what we need to do to produce students for the future. So I think it's about focusing back on it takes a village to raise a child, and it's about actually refocusing on the child.
Martin Mills?
He said what I was going to say. But look, I think that to some extent we need to really rethink the grammar of schooling, the kind of principles and underlying ways in which we understand schools, and that we are adequately preparing some kids for the future. In fact, we're letting some kids down. Some kids who don't have parents, some kids who spend their lives couch surfing, some kids whose parents are substance abusers. These are some of the students that I've been working with of late. And the schools that have worked best with those are the ones who link out into the community, that have got youth that work closely with the youth sector. So it's not just the school on its own, but linking into broader networks and recognising that the school forms an absolutely central major hub for a community, but that it can tap into major resources to support the needs of all kids. And I think we need to broaden our conception of what it means to be a school and what it means to educate young people.
And Anita?
Well, as a student, I'm the result of teaching all of the system. I'd like to think I'm a good result, but, we are the future. My generation is the future. And from my point of view, we are adequately, we're getting across the line, we're getting to university, we're achieving our goals, but there is so much more that teaching can do for us. I mean, developing relationships, student and teacher and parent, I definitely think is really important. And valuing teachers is very important. So I do believe, it's adequately. I'm happy to come to school, I'm happy to learn, but there's just so much more that we can do for students and help them achieve and help them grow, especially those ones that are, marginalised. We need to make everyone equal and push everyone together. So, yeah.
Thank you, Anita. And I just want to add one thing from the experience of how the politicians win a debate. And after 20 years in radio, TV and newspapers, the one thing that strikes me about education as opposed to other projects that win political approval, two things stand out. The first is, if it's a group of medicos fighting for a new law, if it's a group of property developers fighting for a new law, if it's a group of lawyers wanting a change, they will sing from the same songbook. But if you say, should we have NAPLAN, the people that will call Talkback Radio are divided. Teachers are divided, parents are divided. So a politician listening to that then says, well, there is no tsunami of support for that change. I don't know how the education sector addresses that, but I think it works against what we're talking about tonight. The other thing is something fair two other things. One is you talk to a police officer and say, whether a number of arrests in Wynnum on drink driving as a reporter, and they'll give you an answer. You ring a principal and they'll say, I can't talk to you. When this continually happened on my radio show, I went to the government and said, how come public servants who are police can talk to the media, but public servants who are teachers cannot? And they said teachers have never made a big deal about it, police did. So that was the government's answer, a new government, but that was the answer last year. And the final thing that I've learned is the public decide what the politicians do. And there are groups that organise campaigns, and I'm not suggesting that, but rarely do you have someone from a PNF ring, in the 6 years I was on Talkback Radio, ring and say, I'm from this PNF and I would like to see this change. I think if you want it changed, you've got to be heard and to put that argument out and own the debate, because it's okay knocking on the door of the politician, but you then go away, it's not in the public arena and they don't really have to answer for it. And I don't know how you do that if, as an industry, you really want something changed. But that kind of tsunami of support has to start if you're having a public position, and that's what the politicians hear when they're driving to work, when they're leaving work, when they're going to Parliament. That will certainly aid your case. Thank you very much for your time tonight, and can you please put your hands together?